Hi, thanks for tuning in to Noir Histoire. I'm Natasha, and in this episode of the Career Interview Series, we'll be hearing from Tuwisha Rogers-Simpson, a marketing and partnership executive that was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and raised in East Orange, New Jersey. Tuwisha is a lively and vivacious adult who started out as a very inquisitive and outgoing child. Her personable demeanor resulted in customers crossing state lines to be checked out by her at Popeyes. After college, an internship connected her with a group of women who took her under their wings and provided guidance and mentorship. That experience set her on a path of achievement that now includes several successful multicultural and integrated marketing campaigns. Welcome. Thank you, Tuwisha, for joining me today in the interview series. Greatly appreciate you participating. To start with, the first question would be if you can just give me a brief overview of your background. Where are you from?
Wow, really good question. So first of all, thank you for having me, and it's definitely my pleasure. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, but I spent the majority of my life in New Jersey, northern New Jersey. So that'd be East Orange, and finished up high school in Hillside, and then went to William Patterson for undergrad and Keene for graduate. So for most of my life, I've been in New Jersey.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about yourself as a kid. What kind of a student were you? And then I guess what kind of a kid were you? Like, what you enjoy doing for fun and things like that.
Cool. Wow, I was inquisitive. I actually have a burn mark on me that I'll have for the rest of my life, a scar, because I was an inquisitive kid. My mother said that I wanted to know how everything worked. So I would go around and unscrew light bulbs, and that's how I got the burn because the lamp fell on me. I would try to iron my own clothes, figure out how an iron works, constantly asking questions as a kid. I remember in first grade, I kind of got in trouble for asking too many questions in the classroom. As funny as that is, it's true. And also always doing work a step ahead. I always wanted to, find out things, and then I wanted to put them into action right away. So I asked a lot of questions, and then I would go through a discovery, and then I would go through an implementation. And that's pretty much been me all my life. I'm pretty consistent in that. So I was a good kid, inquisitive, active, very, very active. I like to stay very involved. As a child through my teenage years, I've always been involved in some type of organization, group. I love being around people. I love talking and working and being with people. So that was also a consistent with me. And I was also very adventurous. I didn't mind going to different places. I actually yearned to go to different places, travel and see different things. Didn't mind moving around a lot as a kid. It was always just a new adventure, so it was a lot of fun. And so I think that all played into just being a pretty well-rounded student. I was an A student for the majority of my life. Did really, really well in math and science, and also did really well with music. I actually played several different instruments, and so I think that's me in a nutshell. Just this always been this jack of all trades, Renaissance kid, now a Renaissance woman.
So you said that you played a lot of instruments as a kid. What were your instruments?
I played the clarinet, the trumpet, dabbled with the piano, and I played the cello. And funny enough, I'm actually taking cello lessons now. I picked the cello back up.
In addition to the cello, are you playing any of your other instruments or just the cello for right now?
Right now, I started cello in seventh grade, then stopped in eighth grade because I decided to stick with the woodwinds and the brass instruments. And so as an adult, I realized I really would love to learn strings again. So that's why I picked the cello back up. But now I don't play any other instruments now. But I do love music a lot.
What were like your favorite subjects in school? Would you enjoy learning about most?
Math and science, hands down. And African
Perfect.
American studies, actually. Math, science, and African American studies.
Okay. And actually, where's your family from? Like, what part of the country are they from?
Sure. My mom is from Newark, New Jersey, and my father, believe it or not, is from Cincinnati, Ohio. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so we're kind of
Perfect.
Midwest, East.
Did you go to school back home or
abroad. I went to school here. Actually, I noted earlier that I went to William Patterson, which is in New Jersey. Um,
Hmm.
and then I went to grad school here at Keene University, which is also in New Jersey.
Okay. And while going to school, did you work while you were in school? Like, did you have like your first part-time job and whatnot in high school?
Yeah. Actually, I had my first job at 14. My mother went into actually Popeyes, and she told him I was 16 to guarantee that I would get a job. um, so, yeah, I've been working since I was 14, and then my senior year, I worked two jobs. I was actually working at Popeyes because I just loved it and I loved the people. And I was working at Discovery Zone, which was at the time a party play house for children.
Yep.
And I did that because I just loved that too. So I worked both jobs while playing basketball, cheering, was in a sorority, and I was in honor society. I kept myself pretty busy as a
Okay.
kid. Yeah.
And so quite often, like, when people talk about their first jobs, especially like in fast food and whatnot, like you say it with a smile, right? And that you enjoyed those jobs. What was it that you liked about them?
The people. I was a cashier. And again, I started very young and I had I was so, if I could somewhat humble brag, I was so good at the customer service portion of it. I would have people travel from different states and very far cities just to come to engage with me and interact with me at Popeyes. Um, which is right. Like looking back on it, it's kind of like, wow. It's like you came all the way in for some chicken, but they just enjoyed me. And I actually have a very fond memory that when one couple that came from New York, I think at the time, so there's probably two real reasons. I mean, humble brag. One, at the time, there were no Popeyes in New York at the time. So they did come because it was, where they could get chicken. But they came to my particular one because they liked me. And when I actually graduated, they gave me a gift. Like, that's just, looking back on it, like, it's little things you take for granted. They brought me a bag of organizers and different things and some scriptures. It was really, really nice. It was a couple, and it was like, we wish you all the best. Like, you're awesome, and you're going to be awesome at whatever you do. And I had a couple of customers like that who just really enjoyed engaging and interacting with me. Pretty cool at 17.
Yeah, I've like never heard of anyone having people come and seek them out at like a fast food place because they're
Right?
that great.
Isn't
Like
that
usually you're pretty terrible as a teen working at these places, so you must have been really amazing.
you know what? I have my personality you see right now is pretty consistent. It's outgoing, it's different, it's bold, but it's also just engaging and I like connecting with people. That's really important to me. So I've always been that, and like, again, looking back on it, I think that might have been like my little secret ingredient, if you will, of why people travel from New York to get chicken from me. That is, my mom also was very impressed. She was like, it's Popeyes. I was like, I know. And hey, so it was pretty cool. I gotta tell my kids that one day, like, your mom was so good. People came to order food from me. Who goes to McDonald's asking for their favorite person? Like nobody, right? But I was that kid.
Okay, so after high school,
Hmm.
you went on to college.
Hmm.
What motivated you, or I guess what led to you attending the college that you chose? Was it a particular major? What went into that?
Um, they gave me money. I went to school
Okay.
for free. I really wanted to go to an HBCU. I really wanted to go to Clark Atlanta. And I got in. I got into all the schools I applied to. But the cute story there is that I graduated in 1996, which was the year of the Olympics that took place in Atlanta. And everything down there was a mess. Like, it took forever for them to get back to you with anything. So by the time they replied back to me with my scholarship offer, it was October already of my freshman year
Oh
at
wow.
school. Right. So shout out to Clark Atlanta. I don't take it personally. I think you guys are still an amazing institution. I wanted to go there because of their communications department, but it wasn't in the stars. But I wouldn't change a thing because I went to William Patterson on a completely full academic scholarship. And they also had a great communications school, and that's what I initially went to school for.
So you studied communications. What, obviously, like, you had that experience
Mhm.
at Popeyes with your fan club coming in to see you and visit. You had that ability to connect with people.
Mhm.
Do you think that played a role in your interest in communications, or was it something else?
No, absolutely. It was always me and people. It's funny. Um, Everyone wanted me to go into math and science because I'm actually really good at math and science. I contemplated a career in engineering, but the fact of not being able to engage with people really led me back into communications. Funny stories, I didn't even say in communications. I wanted to find the perfect, while I started going to school for communications, I wanted to do like meteorology, I wanted to be in the news. But what wound up happening was in the communications program, learning a little bit more about marketing and advertising. I was like, wait, I get to be creative and engage with people and analyze like market research. Like this is perfect. So I switched my major over to marketing.
How was your experience at William Patterson? How'd you like being, at the school, like the social environment and your classes and whatnot? How'd you find that, especially compared to high school?
Oh, I loved it. I got an opportunity though. I was here at home. I did live on campus. I treated it as a complete going away experience. I think I barely came home, which I think is really you know weird for folks who are in state. Um, it was a great experience, and in hindsight, again, I would not take it back for anything. I had opportunity, great internships. I joined my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Um, that organization still to this day is like our leaders on campus. So that was great. I won a pageant. I got to go to different schools to try different things. I met great people who I'm friends with to today. I was vice president of my junior class. I was treasurer of the whole entire student government. That was amazing. It was very diverse. It was fun. But it was also, it had moments of challenges that actually really matured me and grew me. We had an incident. The school is predominantly white, and we had an incident where we had Reverend Al Sharpton come to campus to speak, and a group of students did not like that. And we actually had stuffed monkeys hanging from trees and lots of stickers in dorm rooms, and it was really a racial divide happening at the campus at the time. As young people, we just, really kind of came together. I really tried to talk about, race relations on campus. I think all the students of color actually grown closer. We were very strategic about everything that we've done, strategic about how we wanted to educate and how we wanted to continue to make sure our voices were heard on campus, to make sure that racism was stopped on campus. Now looking at the world we live in today, it definitely prepared me in a smaller space for a larger world that we were entering. Was very realistic. Um, so I had a well-rounded experience at William Patterson for sure.
You mentioned being very engaged and involved with different activities on campus, much as you'd been while you were in high school as well. But then having what I'm guessing is this new experience of, people having, I guess, differing viewpoints and going about sharing those viewpoints in a negative way.
Mhm.
As a young adult or teen at that point, I guess what impact do you feel that might have had on you, or do you feel that it just kind of gave you a precursor of what maybe to expect and how to interact with people, I guess, of differing viewpoints later on in life?
I think what it definitely prepared me for was getting ready to know that everyone doesn't have the same ideals you have and how to communicate to different people at different levels in their lives, or different levels of opinion. And today, as a marketing executive who still works within the multicultural space, you probably be very surprised how many folks still don't understand what that means. Don't understand demographics, don't understand why it's important, the nuances, the spend. And so, not to go too much into it, it's very, it parallels the experience of just how folks think differently about things. And then the education and the conversation required and needed in the way that you handle those types of situations to make sure that you're not necessarily trying to prove a point as much as you're trying to educate and come to a solution and a common ground. And so at the time at William Patterson, with all that happening, especially I was involved in student government, and by that time I was already in a sorority. Um, you didn't have, you weren't allowed to just be angry. You had to be solution oriented. You had to figure out how to talk across both lines. You had to be a leader. And that took me from just being someone who's constantly involved and took me to a place of learning how to really have impact in people's lives and how to really become a real leader, how to be an effective leader and a problem solver. It definitely shaped me for sure.
So let's take a step forward and talk about your transition from college into the working world. What was your first job out of college?
My first job out of college was actually my internship. I had an internship at Verizon at the time. And just for the record, I am 21 years old. At the time, it was called Bell Atlantic.
Okay.
Yeah, we weren't even, it wasn't Verizon yet. The merger between GTE and Jersey Bell is what made it Verizon. And I was actually a marketing specialist for the cable and long distance group at Bell, and again becoming Verizon. I was on this thing called a management track. So as an intern, they hired me. They loved me. I loved my first job. I loved my first boss. Her name was Christina Bontempo, and Christina Bontempo worked at Verizon all her life. Like she started off as like 17 as an operator and worked herself up through to an executive level. And when she hired me as an intern, she realized there was a lot of things that she didn't know that was coming down as far as new technology. So, computers and those type of things, how to work Excel really well. And so what she saw in me was like potential to like really kind of bring her up to speed and bring the department up to speed. And it was the best first job ever. I could talk about this first job forever. I was very, very blessed. So from Christina, I met who are now my godmothers. Like these women treated me like their own daughters. One is the name of Brenda Francis, and the other name was Evelyn Jones. How serious those relationships? These women were just at my wedding. Like my mom has embraced me. They were my god moms. They were when I brought my first house, when I got married. Like they are pillars, and I think that's extremely important because they were the first ones who taught me how my first 401k, how to invest. That I had to. I didn't have an option. They said you're going to invest 20% of your check because we said so. And they literally sat me down and showed me how to work and showed me the numbers. They polished me because I came in as that college kid, you're smart, everything kind of thing, and they humbled me. They nursed me from everything professional to personal. How to navigate corporate because it was a huge, huge building, a lot of hierarchy, a lot of structure. How to really, work the structure, how to make sure that I'm seen, when not to be seen, when not to be heard. Um, it was amazing. And then, but at the same time, I had an opportunity to create any lane that I wanted to because they all appreciated my energy of like coming up with new ideas and new ways of doing things. So again, wouldn't change a thing. Come to think of it, was the best first job I think anyone could have right out of college. Well paid. I was on scholarships, so it was just like it was a nice corporate job where I had an opportunity to go in rough and young and then come out a completely different young woman.
In the experience that you just shared, like what I heard was that it was a large organization, but within that group of women, you were offered support and they saw you as both an opportunity to both teach, but then also for them to personally learn and to, see the new things that were taking place and whatnot. So within that, you had both mentorship from these more experienced professionals, but then also freedom to sort of explore and try new things. Having an experience like that so early in your career, you mentioned like the importance of it and the impact that it's had. How do you think it impacted like your outlook and the way you approached later positions and opportunities?
Mhm.
How do you think it shaped your philosophy?
Very much so. I consider myself a servant leader. That's my leadership style, and I definitely know that it started there because he was planted there. Because to your point, the women were my mentors, but they gave. I mean, they led by example. They led by giving. They led with humility. Um, they didn't allow the fact that I was young, kind of like make them feel like, okay, she's not going to listen. We're not going to be bothered with her, or this is just a professional place and it is what it is. They were very nurturing, and it impacted me so that I know that I cannot come out just as a corporate cold person. I am very much so believe by leading by example. I don't ask any of my team members to do something that I'm not willing to do. One of the things that my team members say is that you're very nurturing and you really care. And I really do, because someone really cared about me. And I'm clear that I probably would not be as successful as I am today if it wasn't for those women. For one, taking a chance on me, and two, for pouring into me in such an authentic way. Moving forward, I look at organizational culture to see if there's a place for me there, because that's a very important thing. I need the freedom to be able to really be myself and show up authentically, and to be a servant leader, and know that's accepted in the culture of the organizations I've worked with. They all have that in common, where there's a space for that. It's embraced and it's welcomed. Um, and actually, my boss now, he says that that's actually, in his opinion, the secret to my success, which goes back to Popeyes. Like you engage people in such an authentic way. That's your strength.
Having this great opportunity as your first job once you graduated from college,
Mm-hmm.
and the mentorship and nurturing that you got in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Taking that into consideration, as well as the experience and education that you got while you were attending college, how prepared did you feel for that first position? Like before they got their hands on you and
Yeah.
started helping to mold and guide you.
Yeah, to be very transparent, I think emotionally and mentally, I was very prepared for my first job. But I think as far as academic tools, I don't feel as prepared. Not that I take my classes seriously, because again, I kept my scholarship, so I had to go to school. I had to maintain my grades. But I think really looking at my books and then applying those theories into my workplace probably really did not happen until maybe my second or third job, because I didn't make that connection. And if I could give a lesson to someone, is like, don't go to college just to be going to college and going through the motions, like, of, okay, I'm in this class, I'm doing it to graduate, I got a degree. You have to take the parts of your class where you have to really challenge yourself and your teachers of, like, is this applicable to what I'm about to go do? I think I went through because I had to get it done. But I don't think I really took a step back to say, hey, I took logistics class. How can I really apply that logistics theory to what I'm working with now? Um, Actually, you want to hear a secret? And this is the first time I've ever exposed this to anyone. I
Sure.
actually got a C in advertising, and I'm an advertising exec. It's believe it. I mean, and I am a creative problem solver, and I have campaigns that have, awards. Like, I don't think it's a lack of me understanding advertising clearly, because I'm successful in it. I think it's, again, I don't know about the academic piece of it. Did I really make the connection of try to learn as much as I can from this so that I can apply it to wherever I'm going? So now you know a secret no one else knows.
I hope you're not gonna tell anybody.
Yeah, I won't record it. So I
Okay.
was trying to learn from that. Like, I'm not saying I didn't take my classes too. I don't know if you can help me, like, articulate it. Like, it's just this thing of, like, it's. I tell people all the time, like, you have a toolkit, right? You have hammers and screwdrivers, and that toolkit is only as good as you use the tools. You can have a deluxe set of drills and nuts and bolts, but if you're not applying any of those things or learning how to use those things, then they're just pretty tools in a toolbox. And I feel like once I've graduated college and I entered such a nurturing space where I was able to be myself, I probably again was mentally and emotionally prepared. But it made me more prepared because I entered that space that way. But I did not really draw, like, I took this class and let me make sure that I'm getting something out of it to apply it later on. I took that for granted.
come closer to the present, right? And discuss where you are currently in your career. How'd you get to where you currently are? Once you got past that, that internship and the time that you spent at Verizon, what guided you along the way? And I guess what factors led to you taking the career path that you did?
Yeah, great question. I actually love this question because I'm a unicorn. I am a self-made unicorn, and it was intentional. When I was at Verizon, one of the departments that I was really, really, really curious about was at the time the community relations department. Um, and that actually, I had an opportunity to go to grad school. And, the question was, do you go to business school or do you get something else? And I intentionally picked public administration. I wanted to better understand the public sector. I wanted to better understand urban studies. And so as I moved towards where I'm at today, that was the first big decision that I made. I could have gone to get an MBA, but I chose to do this instead, and I did it because I wanted to better understand people, and people as it relates to what's happening in government affairs, what happens in an educational space, what happens just in a community space, and I actually stepped out of corporate and went to school and even became a teacher for a little while to really focus in on that. So again, that's why I kind of started connecting my head that what you study, you should be applying. Um, and so from there, when I came out with my graduate degree, I was intentionally looking for that community relations kind of position, but I didn't want to work non for profit, and I didn't want to abandon my marketing. So always wanted to get into multicultural marketing. And I think when I first started, integrated marketing, multicultural marketing was not a thing. Matter of fact, there's only two agencies that really were doing it, and that was Burrell, which is in Chicago, and Uni World, which is in New York City, which is still around today, were the only two known African American agencies that focused on that work. And if you were in a corporate setting, you would do multicultural marketing, but there weren't departments for it yet. Not a lot. Um, there were people working in those community relations departments that were working on African American marketing. So I was trying to create this path of how do I become an integrated marketer around multicultural. That was my goal. And I purposely took jobs. So I've worked in public relations. I've worked in media companies. I've worked at advertising agencies. I worked as strategist. I did market research, all leading up to who I am today, which is I call myself a creative problem solver in this space of multicultural marketing. And I'm a truly integrated marketer because I've worked at all these spaces. And where I am today as the vice president of strategic partnerships, I'm actually running like an in-house agency within a media company. And my whole objective of this position, as well as my personal company, Wish Factor, was to sit in the spot and say, hey, consumers engage with a product or service one in various ways, but regardless of how they engage with that product or service, they can be receiving the same messages and the same feelings and should resonate in the same type of way. Who sits in the middle of all of that and constructs that, regardless of the media company, regardless if it's on BET or Essence, regardless if it's on Univision or it's on Telemundo, like who sits in the middle and says, okay, this is what this should feel like, and this is the impression that that service or brand should have. And that has literally been my goal, and I'm doing it right now today. I'm living my dream.
You're currently the VP at a media company where essentially you run their in-house agency, as well as, in addition to that, you have your own company. Mm-hmm. Can you give a little insight into what both of those roles entail, and then like what an average day, if there is ever an average day, happens to look like for you?
No such thing as an average day when you're a unicorn. There's no such thing. However, I have to probably just clarify that Wish Factor came first, and it was in fact an integrated marketing consulting firm. And working in that is when I met my now current colleague and boss, who said, "You're onto something. Can you bring that to where you are today?" So Wish Factor still exists, but because of me working at the company, all the services I once did for Wish Factor don't all exist anymore. So Wish Factor is now more educational, speaking engagements, resources, those types of things. And all of my marketing and advertising is done through Urban One under the One Solution team. And the average day for me, wow. Um, I'm wowing because I tell my clients that there's no two clients that are the same. Because it's in this unique place of solving problems, it depends on the client's problems. But the average day looks like me coming into the office, kind of downloading on what's going on. I try to pick a client focus for the day because to try to focus on all of them would be a lot overwhelming. Um, and so it could go for anything from me doing a strategy session with my team. We strategically talk about what we need to kind of solve, what problem are we solving for the client. And then from there, we maybe start developing, teasing out what that strategic brief looks like, what that strategic approach looks like. If we're past that, then we're getting into a place of putting together how do we now create a strategy, and now what are the tactics? Do we now, give them more market research? Is it a media plan? Is it creative development? Is it community relations? Are they, do we need to bring an influencer on board? So we kind of, my day goes through what are these different moving tactical pieces that need to be worked on and talked through. And so I go through that daily in regards of where we're at with the project and what part of that needs to be kind of given some direction. Um, for the most part, because I'm in the media company, there is a part of my day that has to talk to all the different media departments. Just to kind of give clarity about my day, Urban One is the only African American media company that has television, digital, national radio, and local radio. So we're a mass media communications company. And so my day consists of talking to, if not all the ambassadors and teams, at least one or two of those teams, to kind of check in or talk about, or this again, implementing something or developing a plan for something, where we are with those things, how those things working together to get a status for a client. If I'm having an average day, I'm also either out on the road doing client relations, having conversations with them about what's happening currently, what's next, or how we can, sell them into next year, or activating. So in my position, we do a lot of custom content. We do, again, community relations, a lot of influencer relations, depending on client. So a lot of times I'm out either implementing those types of services as well. And I try my best because there's really no average day. Um, Sometimes my average day for weeks is being on a plane, and just going to different clients to just understand their needs and to really kind of be able to come back and do the strategic part I talked about earlier.
Sort of what led you into this role is the work that you were doing at Wish Factor, that I believe you said it was your boss saw what you were doing and thought, it'd be a great idea for you to bring that to the company.
Mm-hmm.
But what actually led to you starting Wish Factor? How did that come about?
Awesome. So up to the point of Wish Factor, I've worked again at an ad agency. I worked in a media company at Black Enterprise. I worked for Images as well as Translation. Those are advertising agencies. Doing strategy and client relations. I was a PR manager for Vanna Pinkett, who's the winner of season 4 Apprentice. So I have got to Trump himself. Nothing's changed. Just saying. And I've also worked for communications agency as well. And I still never felt like this is it. This is everything. Like I haven't gotten to that place if I feel like I'm doing what I sought out to do. So instead of looking for a position, I created Wish Factor. I thought it was needed in the marketplace. And I knew it was a unique proposition. So I don't call myself an advertising agency. I call myself an integrated marketing agency because that's exactly what we were. And it was actually extremely successful. It really was. We had a great, great, great campaign out the box with Quick, talking to African American women around using this service, this product of using an HIV at home test. And as simple as it was, the strategy was all off. And that's actually what got me the opportunity. I want to say, you guys can't talk to African American women like this. Not because I'm an African American woman, because I'm telling you, here's some data of why you cannot talk to African American women like this. Their approach was to kind of use the same approach they had with homosexual men, to use the same approach with African American women. And by me saying that alone, you can probably just go through your head why that's all wrong. And what it actually drilled down to, strategically, what we found out was, if you want to talk to women about their sexual relationships, you have to go to the heart of the matter, which is relationships and how they talk and how they matter and how women are showing up in these relationships and what they think about relationships. And so we birthed this great strategy on not going directly to the product, but you know, creating empowerment around knowing that you have control of your relationships and control of what happens in these relationships, and the decisions that you make are impactful. And you could be wise in those decisions because you're putting yourself first. And that birthed that campaign, Know It, and it actually turned into one of the first integrated custom, custom content campaigns I've done in my career. We actually had a talk show that traveled around the country, and we taped it. We had magazine ads, we had integrations on in shows, we had commercials, we had events. Um, it was amazing. I still have some of the reel and stuff today. It was, I think, before everyone got into this branded content, it was like one of the first things of real branded content. And we had a workbook, we had a site, a page, and it really got to the heart of the matter of how do you see yourself in a relationship and how to have conversations around sex and who you are, which then resulted into, I want to know where I stand and you need to know where you stand. So here's just a tool we can use before we decide to take the next step. It was really, really amazing.
You've spoken about, your passion for giving back and having a positive impact, doing more than just doing work, right? Having your work have some meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping that in mind, how do you personally define success?
I personally define success when you get to a place in life where you're not working, you're ministering. That's success. When your life calling is what you do. Period. Um, I think there's a lot of people in this world who are successful because they love what they do. They're excited about getting up in the morning. They meet challenges in a way where it knows it's bigger than, what they're trying to accomplish is bigger than the challenges. And I feel like success is when you, like, you know what, this is what God put me on earth for. And I'm doing it every day and I'm blessed. And regardless of what it yields, I'm so happy just to be doing my part. That's success to me.
I think I already know the answer to this question, but looking at the current reality of your career and the experiences that you've had,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that your career has surpassed, matched, or fallen short of the aspirations and expectations you had for yourself as a college student looking to your future?
Career wise, I've definitely met it. I haven't surpassed it. I think where I'm in my life right now is trying to be successful as I defined it. I feel like I have a lot career. I mean, in college for sure. Again, funny story. In college, I was in a pageant, and my whole dialogue was running a communications department within a media company. No lie. At the time, it was me working for Russell Simmons, and I was running his running communications and PR for him and pulling everything together for Russell Simmons for Rush Communications. Here I am at Urban One, sitting in the center, running communications and marketing and strategy. And so I'm spot on to my dream as a college girl. But again, I'm so glad I've gotten here because now I know I'm ready to be successful. And that's moving more into a space of, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do with everything that I've done so far? What does that next step look like?
Thinking about next steps, what goals or plans are you currently pursuing?
Awesome, glad you asked. I'm pursuing on taking out some time to further define, how do I take everything that I just shared with you, this creative problem solver, this being this unicorn, to a global level. I would really like to just start solving, kind of getting closer back to the community relations piece of things, and start looking at how do people engage and interact globally, and what type of projects can I work on that would allow me to kind of pull more people together. So for example, the project already happened, but I would have loved to have been on the team that established Oprah School in South Africa. Like that would have been like that, those types of projects where you're pulling in all these different folks and people to create something bigger and better somewhere else, leveraging what already exists here and probably in other places, right? LeBron's project, I would have loved to work on something like that. I think again, all of my experience, marketing and background, and strategy and all those great things are really important to putting those type of projects together because they're not your regular schools. They're not your regular, I'm just gonna go open up something over here. They are, something that requires like thought around how does everybody work together for the greater bigger and out of the box. So that's one thing I'm working on, just trying to find out how to get more involved in that. What does that look like? The second thing I'm working on actually is a couple of books. I've been wrestling with some ideas around some books. I think I kind of staying true to who I am. I think people are like, oh, you're going to do a marketing book. And no, not so much. I don't want to do a branding marketing book. I get them in advertising. I get to touch branding, but there is definitely a spiritual side to me that I think is really important. And I do think business is personal, and I do think the best business book that you can probably read is the Bible. There are business principles within the Word of God. And so I would like to create a book around what those principles look like. How do we use real world examples, align it with some spiritual principles to create opportunities for people individually to find their real voice and be successful. So I'm working on a book for that as well as a workbook. And last but not least, I would really like to go back and create a curriculum around integrated marketing and multicultural marketing. I mentioned it earlier that that's something I set out to do, but it was really hard to find that even in my grad. Like I created this urban studies marketing, lane for myself. But till today, if you Googled multicultural marketing classes, they might be given as electives, but they're still not a major. And with minorities now becoming the majority, and they're already the majority, it's just very interesting to me how there is really not a coursework preparing our future business folks, our future marketers and advertisers to really kind of be able to be in that space in a genuine way and part of the actual coursework. Um, in addition to that, integrated marketing, I still think is kind of still fresh and new. I think you have a lot of folks who don't really still understand how public relations and media and strategy and advertising, how they honestly kind of work together and how they need to work together because our consumers are so smart and so savvy. And no traditional advertising means are really going to stay true. So we have to like grow ourselves to better understand how to talk to consumers. And so I really do have a passion for creating a curriculum and going around and hopefully either be able to teach or help implement this curriculums in some of our universities and schools in the country. As I say it out loud, it's a huge list. Those are big goals.
Taking a step back,
Mm-hmm.
looking over your career again,
Mm-hmm.
right? Looking back to who you were, what your goals were, your expectations as a college student, and then the experience of being in that moment of being a college student. What career or life advice would you offer to your younger self or to any other young person that's still in school or just getting ready to enter the workforce?
Absolutely. I would offer three pieces of advice. One would be, and I mentioned it earlier, take full full advantage of your academic studies. Like challenge your teachers, Tuwisha, challenge your professors to really kind of connect the dots on how do I use what I'm sitting here and paying for out in the real world? What does that look like? Um, my second piece of advice would be don't rush out. I hear people say all the time, like, seriously, don't rush out. Suck up every little opportunity in the world you can take from your university, rather it be a joint degree, rather they have study abroad, which I really regret not doing. We had a business program that sent you to France, and you didn't have to pay anything extra for it, like it was covered in your regular tuition. I was like, what? So I found out about it. I was already in my core classes, so it was a little too late. But like, find out what those things are at your university, at your school, your college, and take full advantage of it. The real world is not going anywhere. The first job isn't going anywhere. You can afford it. You can do it because it's going to change your life. Definitely get everything you can out of your college experience abroad. Maybe it's an exchange program domestically. Like, do it. Find out about it and do it. And my third piece of advice is to be very mindful of your experience and your network. And this is one thing where I think my old self, I did pretty well. Again, I think that's what helped me. I have amazing tribe of people around me, and a lot of those experiences happened in college. Like, get involved, learn the power of and. Um, the power of and is you can be in a sorority and a cheerleader and the business club and a Star Wars geek and travel abroad. Like this, time is like your biggest commodity and it's yours, and you can do anything you want to do with it to make the best out of it. Just do all of it and learn the power of and.
Imagine it's years from now and you're nearing or already retired.
Mm.
When you look back over your career, what accomplishments or achievements would you be most proud of? And then also, what accomplishments or achievements would make you consider your career a roaring success versus being just mediocre or even disappointing?
Um, what when I retire, when I look back, one is definitely going to be the Oral Quick project I talked to you about. Um, that's going to be number one. The second thing will be when there are several universities that have implemented uh, the project I spoke about in regards to multicultural marketing and integrated marketing majors and classes. Um, because for me, it's about to give back. Like that will touch millions of students, but it'll also affect millions of consumers so they can see themselves. Because people are being taught how to see people and talk to them and relate with them. So that'd be awesome. Um, and that I did it. Like I set a goal and I did it, and the satisfaction of just knowing I can retire and when I get to heaven, God says, "Good and well done." That'll be amazing.
And now for our bonus question.
Ooh, bonus question. Did I get paid for this?
So,
Question.
if you think about books, people, and or events that have motivated, inspired, or otherwise shaped your careers,
Mm-hmm.
um, does anything in particular come to mind? Are there any specific books that have inspired you, or people, whether famous or people that you only personally know?
Yeah. So I can give you both. There's a couple of books, and I actually have them here. One is this one, and it comes up backwards, but it's the five dysfunctions of a team, by Patrick Lencioni. This book prepared me to be a better leader and manager and boss. It's amazing. It changed my life. Really good. Um, Another one, I'm just going to show it to you. I'm not going to say the words. I'm actually currently reading this, and I'm halfway done. It's really, 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 really good. Title's a little jarring. It's a subtle art of not giving an F. However, the approach that Manson takes is refreshing. It's new. It pushes you out the box. It brings it back to self, which I think is really important. And another favorite book of mine, a marketing book, is I don't have it in front of me because I've read it 1,000 times. Is The Purple Cow by Seth. Um,
Jordan?
yep. And as a marketer, it reminds you just of the core principles of why people buy what they buy. It's, to me, I call the Jedi mind trick. Like, it teaches you the core principle of the Jedi mind trick. I really enjoy that. I always talk about that a lot. In regards of people, there's also three people. Um, so one is, well, three and a higher power. So first and foremost, definitely I'm inspired by by God and by Jesus, because again, I see a lot of leadership qualities there. That being said, the three people will be, one is an old boss of mine, Dr. Randall Pinkett. Um, we can have a whole session again on just his influence on me as a leader, as a person, as a professional. He was an awesome man to work for and work with. And he inspires me to this day. This man has several degrees, never worked for anybody a day in his life. He's a great speaker. He's extremely successful. He has a multi-million-dollar company. But he's the coolest person on earth, and one of the most gentle and sincere and warm people. He just shows up, and I love him for it. The other two people, one is Quincy Jones. The musician in me um, connects to Mr. Jones. I've never met him personally, but his story of just, man, I don't have to. His story of and is amazing. Like, he's a composer and a director and a musician and a writer, and he's like, he keeps going and going and going, and he's so passionate about his art and his gift. I would definitely call him successful. And the last person, believe it or not, is Steve Harvey.
I'm sorry, it's who?
Steve Harvey.
Okay.
It's probably a little less about Steve. It's probably more about his story. I think Steve Harvey is a great example of when it's your time, it's your time, and when it is, you just step into it 100% completely. And for Mr. Harvey, I think we all know him as a comedian. He's done this thing on TV, but when he had the radio show, and now where he's at today as an author, and it happened to him later on in life. And I think it happened to him later on in life, if I could probably assume, is when he was more comfortable in who he was and stepped away from who he thought he had to be. And now everything he touches is gold, because I think he's being his authentic self. So I think his story is definitely, like, it's inspirational. There's no expiration date on when you show up. So that's really, like, powerful to me.
That's usually like the last question, but I noticed that throughout the interview, you mentioned experiences and people that you interacted with that have had like a huge impact on you, where it's in a professional setting. So, like, for example, your first position at Verizon, but then also you mentioned the gentleman's name a moment ago. There you go. Randall, I think is the last name.
No,
Where,
yeah.
okay, Pinkett.
Mm-hmm.
Where not only have they been successful in their careers, but in your experiences with them, there's also a focus on like the human being behind, the employee, right? Whereas quite often I think you find in corporate environments that, not always, but sometimes that humanity can be, if not necessarily stripped away, then ignored, where there's more of a focus on, the work to be done and the professional side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what significance, if any, do you think there is in, or I guess benefit there is to people as well as companies, I guess, dealing with and developing both sides of that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
as a professional, but then also, that
Humane side of it.
yeah, like
Yeah.
inside as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. So you read that 100% correct. There is the most memorable things in my career in regards of the impact of people, not just people, but people who have not only been professional but also have been personal, are in a workplace. And I think it's extremely important. I said it once, I'll say it again. Business is personal. When someone is showing up somewhere for 8 to 10, sometimes 12 hours of their lives, and they are giving you time which they don't get back, and they're giving of themselves, I don't see how we can't, how we are not humane, and how we, and I don't know, humane is probably too strong of a word because people are human, but how do we not think about what people need and figure out what that balance of what that looks like. So I am old school in the sense of I don't think, you come in and you play around and talk all day. Like work has to get done. I am type A. I like to control, like organization. I like all those good things. I think that's the analytical, mathematical person in me. Like I need formulas, I need process and procedures. But along the way, I think to get the best out of people, you have to give of yourself, and you have to get to know these people. You have to understand their strengths, their weaknesses. You have to know when to push, when not to push. And also for me as a manager, as a boss, I don't want to hold anybody back. And so understanding what they need and who I need to be in their lives so they can go to the next level is just as important to me as winning an account. Um, Now, quite honestly, if you look at it the other way around, if you're trying to accomplish something and you're trying to get somewhere and you're trying to get productivity out of someone, um, you need to appeal to them to the side of them in which they feel most welcomed, supported, and appreciated. No one wants to go anywhere where you're not feeling like you care about me being here and what I'm giving to you. And so, um, to me, you can't even get the best out of people without having that. Like it's a non-negotiable in my mind. I think anything that's cold, anything that's all about business, anything that is all about the bottom line, creates a very toxic environment. And I unfortunately have been in environments like that, and it's very difficult because it blurs lines, it confuses things, it's not productive. You spend a lot of time and money doing the same things over and over again. Like it's not moving the ship forward. I'm trying to figure out a way to articulate, because I mean, bottom line is it's extremely important. And it's a philosophy that I live by. Business is personal because you're bringing yourself to the table. And if you want the best out of people, then you have to become a people person. And so all the people who have impact in my life have pulled me to the side. They've not only been compassionate, but they've been extremely honest with me. Like, hey, this is not working for you. Hey, I expected more of you. So as much as I talk about them as unloving on me, they also were very honest with me. And all of them prepared me for my next level, and they weren't selfish in letting me go to the next level. And all the people I'm talking about today, I have a relationship with because they're just that impactful in my life. And so it becomes a give and take. So it's not that you just gave to me, but anything I can do for Randall, professionally or personally, it happens. Another person in my life that was impactful was Steve Stout. Steve Stout pulled me to the side one day and he said to me, "Listen, you can't just come here as a young black woman and do what you see everybody else doing. There's an expectation that you have to show up. You can't come in here on dress down day. You can't come in here and just spew facts because you're a black woman and you know what every black woman is thinking." He pulled me to the side, like, "I'm gonna be honest with you, and you can't come in here with those everyday black ideas." And I said, "Well, what are black ideas?" And he explained to me what those were. And he forced me to step up professionally. And he forced me to also dig deep in myself and to create ideas that were like not expected because it was what comfortable everyone else was doing in the marketplace. And that goes back to, again, people who have shaped me. He didn't have to pull me to the side to say that. And I'm sure he did it, one, because I was one of the only African American women at his agency. There's a couple of us, but one of the few. And two, he saw something in me where he was like, "I didn't choose you because I needed a black girl. I needed a smart woman. And because the odds are against you, I need you to always show up as a smart person in the room." And I did. I mean, it was one of the most challenging jobs I've ever had. But Steve led me to working on some great things that led me to getting a 40 under 40 award. Like, and I remember texting him saying, "Thank you. Um, Thank you for that," because he's a busy guy. He's a very popular guy. And to talk to, to a young black girl in your company who's 5 levels, you didn't have to do that, and he did. So I go back to say, and I produced for him. So there was a win-win for sure. Um, but it's, to me, it's necessary. It makes people feel important because we are important. And what you do does matter. Rather stamping the envelopes or writing a letter or the person delivering them. Like, it's all important to get the message done. So
Key takeaways. Success will come easier to you in work environments that accept, encourage, and support you. We all have to earn a living, but whenever possible, evaluate the organizational culture of potential workplaces to see if you're a fit. Having the freedom to focus your energy on doing a good job rather than trying to be someone else will serve you better in the long run. Whether it's school or work, take the time to consider the things you're learning. Don't just go through the motions. Instead, try to assess if what you're learning can be applied to your future plans and how it can help you achieve your future goals. Having a lot of knowledge but not taking the time to figure out how to use it is a waste. Be conscious of your network and your net worth. Surround yourself with amazing people that are positive influences, willing to share their knowledge and supportive of your success. Get involved with groups with which you share common interests. Connect with these like-minded people and stay in touch. Maintaining your network helps you grow as a person and will go a long way towards building your net worth. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button. I also hope you subscribe to the channel and return to get motivated, get inspired, get stories of Black history made and in the making. Until next time, take care. Thanks again for tuning in, and I hope you return to watch future episodes. For more information about Noir Histoire, visit the Noir Histoire website. There you'll find text, video, and audio for each episode all in one place. Subscribe to the Noir Histoire newsletter to get fresh content delivered straight to your email inbox. You can also subscribe to the Noir Histoire YouTube channel for videos. If you're enjoying the content but would prefer to listen to audio, you can subscribe to the Noir Histoire podcast. Follow Noir Histoire on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Enjoy the rest of your day.